What's going on, everybody? It's Friday, August 30th, and it's Stoppage Time, another edition of Stoppage Time, actually, in preparing for today's Stoppage Time show with y'all. I glanced at our Notion table and realized this is episode 21 of this little interlude that you and I spend together every Friday afternoon. As I share my thoughts on the world and life and business as I've experienced it this week. But 21 in a row, that's incredible to me. Like Deanna, my incredible show producer here at the Storytellers Company, and I decided to start this as kind of a whimsical, creative experiment, an idea to put me and you in more direct communication with each other on a regular basis, as part of our community, as part of our audience. And to think that, like, here we are 21 episodes of this later, in addition to the now almost 130 episodes that we will surpass here on our main Entrepreneurial Thinker show in the next week or two. But it's pretty incredible. So grateful to be here as always. Happy Friday to y'all. I hope you have a great make use of / enjoy the stoppage time here between the end of your Friday and the beginning of your weekend, which in the case of the United States this weekend is a long weekend. Monday is a holiday. It's Labor Day weekend, which is the proverbial metaphorical end of summer, even though technically summer doesn't end until like later in September. Yeah, it's the kind of end of summer, return to school, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of a natural kind of transitional turning of the page, so to speak. So I've had a lot on my mind this week. In my work, I've been super focused on the fundraising for the Storytellers Company and our capital campaign around that, which we'll talk more about in social media and across all the different platforms in the next week and in the coming weeks. You're going to hear about it all the time from me. Mainly, it really was just thinking a lot about women this week, and just the power of strong, self-aware, confident, capable, empathetic, good women, both just as people and as human beings in the better, fairer half of our species, so to speak, but also in business and in my life. In this work that I do, in our show at Entrepreneurial Thinkers, and in this and in the other content that we create, right, I have the great pleasure in the Entrepreneurial Thinkers show on a weekly basis to talk with the best and brightest entrepreneurial thinkers across every sector and segment of our society, and as they tackle kind of the big opportunities and the big problems and challenges that we have in our world. And not surprisingly to me, lots and lots of these folks that I get to talk to are women, are just really strong, talented, capable women. So that's been on my mind. Also driving this, watching the beginning of the Paralympics yesterday and just realizing, again, very much similar to the Olympics experience, that there were more women athletes, and there are more women athletes in the Paralympic Games than there were men, which is just really empowering, right? It's just incredible to see. Also, obviously, here again, political season in the United States as we lead up to a presidential election this fall. And on the Democratic Party side now, we have a woman candidate, our Vice President Harris. And so the discussion around her and the coverage of her campaigning has been inspiring for me, and great to see, because again, I've been an advocate of the idea that we are long overdue for a woman president. I mean, if you think back to this, like, I was alive and aware of politics as a young kid when we had true trailblazers like Geraldine Ferraro running as a vice presidential candidate long before this nation ever contemplated such a thing was possible, right? So it's an exciting time. It's a great moment. It's a great opportunity for us. But so it's been on the mind. But the other reason is, like, it's funny as we think about the show, and I think about the conversations that Deanna, my super uber talented show producer, and I have, as she is my right hand, and I am her on-air talent. As we build and craft the stories that we love to share, right, we get to make decisions about the people that we have on our show. And we're unabashed in wanting to share the stories of all creative, innovative, open-minded, forward-thinking people. But it just so happens, like, if you look back over the course of time, we do tend to amplify and dive into more of the stories of super talented, self-aware, creative women than we do men. Now, Why is that? Well, one, it's our show. So we get to choose and try to invite the guests that we want to talk to, and that I am literally curious about learning about and learning from. But two is, again, it's our show. And so we kind of get to book and amplify the stories of whoever the hell we decide we want to. And secondly, I always tell the stories from a personal standpoint, right? I was raised a mama's boy. I was raised very, very heavily influenced by my mom and my older sisters. And this week that was kind of on my mind because Deanna and I slipped into a personal conversation yesterday during our work where I shared a whole bunch more of my family history with her than she had ever really fully understood. And so that was kind of cool and inspiring, reminded me what a positive influence women and strong, self-aware, empathetic, good women have been in my life from birth. And then, of course, I am, as you all know, if you follow me or know me at all, I'm a proud girl dad of my amazing daughter, Riley, who now is about to turn me into a grandfather. Although we know it's not going to be a baby girl, it's going to be a baby boy, unless something crazy changes. No, not going to happen. But the idea of just having lived a life for a big chunk of her life as a single dad, raising her through her teenage years, and just everything that goes into learning how to be a man, frankly, in a girl's world, and understanding that. And then, of course, now in my extended family life, I am Uncle Rob to a couple of amazing young women, young girls who are now in high school and about to be in high school here in Southern California in my friend's family. And the girls are incredible, and they're teaching me all about, well, again, what it means to be a man in their world, right? As Gen Alpha and Gen Zers, and so it's incredible to kind of stay fresh and stay aware of kind of what the future looks like. And at the end of the day, all those things add up to us choosing to amplify and lean into the stories of incredible women, whether those be women from across the street here in the city of Los Angeles, or whether they be women or entrepreneurial thinkers of different types and different backgrounds from across the world. And so we're going to continue to do that. You're going to continue to see that from us. So hopefully this always will be, everything we will always create will be an inclusive, creative, diverse space. That's kind of our motivating factor and our motivating vision of the world. And it doesn't mean we won't talk to really bright, capable men. We do often. We have spoken to some incredible young men and experienced guys in various fields recently. But it just seems that we're on a run of talking to and amplifying the stories of incredible women. And that's had a huge influence on my life. It just gives me hope. Right, I've unabashedly said for about 15, 20 years that I thought it was time for us to quote unquote kind of hand over the keys to the ladies in the world, and allow the intuitive sensibilities, and emotional makeup and intellectual makeup of women, which I think is just wired completely differently and frankly in a more healthy, stable way than men as species. To empower women to kind of take the reins and lead us forward for the next 500 or 1,000 years, because we guys have led us to where we are today. And frankly, lots of the challenges and the problems that we face societally that we're all now trying to feverishly solve constantly are as a result of policies and decisions and kind of cultural thinking and biases that come from male-dominated society over the last 2,000 years, right? So it's time. So again, always going to use our platform to be inclusive of everybody from all walks of life. And I got you guys. We're still going to have you as huge parts of the conversation. But I sometimes joke, like, I'm a 56-year-old, middle-aged white dude from the Midwest, who's been around the world a couple of times. Like, I kind of already know what I think. Like, I know what people that look and sound and feel and came from the same backgrounds as me think, and why they make the decisions that they make. And I want to learn, and I want all of us to learn and be inspired by those of us who think differently and who have to overcome the adversities and the inherent biases and obstacles that life seems to present women on a more regular basis than it presents to men, especially women of color, right, or women of any other diverse backgrounds. And identifying factors. So that's what we're all about. That's what's been on my mind this week is the girls. Go girls, power to the ladies. And in fact, we had two really cool episodes that I want to shout out. this week, and then I've got a couple of more interviews that I've just done this week. That'll be future episodes coming up, with just a powerhouse kind of run of incredibly gifted, compassionate, thoughtful, really talented, experienced women. And the two that just have been on my mind recently, because I kind of go back and listen to them every once in a while, and I listen to them in draft form when Deanna and I are doing our final edits for publication, are with Michelle O'Grady Caballero and with Carol Shih. In Michelle's case, I mean, it was the ultimate conversation about what we entitled that show "Connecting Dots," right? And trying to understand where we belong and or where how our stories belong and fit. And to me, that is like the ultimately intuitive, women-led topic to explore, because I fundamentally believe and have learned so much from the women in my life, both professionally and personally, that has taught me that they are just intuitively better at building stronger, more sustainable, longer lasting relationships, both personally and professionally. And so what Michelle does is she navigates us through the work that she and her team do at Team Friday, and talks about how impactful they are with their clients and the organizations that they work with. But she also just leans into her personal story and the journey that she's gone on, and kind of how she's grown into herself as a leader, right? And so it's incredibly inspiring, but also very, very informative, very specifically actionable for anybody that wants to think about how to connect those dots in their life, how to tie stories together, how to tell a better version of your own story, and also just kind of how to find comfort in the pursuit of where you fit in life, right? And then there's Carol Shih's episode that dropped this week on audio, and it will drop, the YouTube version of it will drop on Monday. And Carol's just incredibly gifted. Like I smile because Carol is just a riot. Like she's got such incredibly good energy. She's so positive. She's such a fighter. She's such a self-reliant, self-made. If there was ever a definition of a person, let alone a woman, that was self-reliant, self-made, self-determined, and who kind of, not just against the odds, but let's just say against the circumstances of her upbringing and her life, managed to carve out what everybody would judge by any standards is a success story. A successful life as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, but also a successful business person, like wildly successful business person with her company CodeSpace. So with Carol, she taught me about this moniker in culture called Third Culture Kids. And so we talk about that and we explain what that is. If you don't know what that is, you'll be fascinated to learn. If you do know what it is, you'll identify with it immediately and you'll really love her story. And then we talked about breaking ceilings, right? And breaking barriers. And in her case, she literally taught me the phrase, the bamboo ceiling, which again is terribly both misogynistic and kind of racist undertones, right? It's just inappropriate language, but it is a defining phrase that has helped many Asian Americans and Asians to understand as part of the immigrant culture, like of just the inherent barriers that are built that kind of seem to limit them in their growth. And she has blown through all those. And so we literally talk about those things and so much more about her business, her approach to business, how she builds relationships. And in her case, how she has built her company, CodeSpace, around empowering and bringing along and developing other women. So literally women engineers, women developers in a space that retail, e-commerce, online development that she reminds us and teaches us is hugely dominated by tech bros and by men in general. She has made it hers and her partner Tasha's mission to not just build a great business, to provide great technology support and development services to their clients, but to have that business be predominantly women. And she hires a ton of moms, and she talks about that extensively. So there's a ton to learn and be inspired by in that episode as well. So I hope you check it out on wherever you listen to your audio podcast, and I hope you check it out on the YouTube. Michelle's episode has already been up now for a couple of weeks on both the YouTube channel for Entrepreneurial Thinkers as well as on any favorite audio podcasting platform that you listen to your podcast at. So please check those out. And as I always beg you, like them, follow them, subscribe to them. Help us drive up those follower accounts. Engage with us and leave comments. Engage with comments for the guests. Like we'll pass them along. Engage with us on social. If you see social posts around these topics, which we do regularly, our social posts are super creative, led by our team, and super inspiring. And the clips are awesome that Deanna creates and shares to our socials. So do that. Quick book recommendation for you, and it really isn't a business book, although maybe you could kind of take it as a bit of a business inspirational story. It's The Misadventures of an Awkward Black Girl by Issa Rae. I listened to this on Audible. I listened to this book, read this book back pre-pandemic. I think the book came out in 2016. I think I listened to it in like 2017, 2018 when I was living in South America. For me at that time, having come out of being this single dad to the teenage girl, and then having her be in college and graduating from college and being off into her early adult life, for me, the book was both kind of cathartic as well as informative and humorous. It's just funny. It's just a great, funny story in which she takes back and kind of does a caricature of herself, Issa does, in her own life growing up as a self-described kind of awkward black girl trying to fit in. And why I say it's not just a humorous pursuit, like you can find some business lessons in here if you want, is because Issa, who's a ridiculously talented, creative industry leader in Hollywood, in the entertainment field, graduated from Stanford, incredibly educated, worldly person, young person, but she's built an empire. She has built a media business empire on the heels of the success of her HBO show, acclaimed show years ago called Insecure. She's a proud Angelino from here in Los Angeles, from the south side of the city, and has built a business, again, kind of much like Carol in CodeSpace, just on a different scale in a different industry, built upon bringing people up behind her, giving people opportunities, empowering more women of color, empowering more black women, young black women, to come into Hollywood in the various roles and responsibilities that are available inside her media empire, her production companies, and creating a pathway for them where there may not have been ever open doors for them before. So the book fits with the theme of what's been on my mind this week, which is just the blessing that I have in my life of having been shaped and guided and now mentored and now befriended by and collaborating with strong, self-aware, talented women, from the two young women that make up our team at Storytellers Company, Deanna, who I've mentioned, and Anna Paula, who are just fiercely loyal and incredibly talented and hardworking and earnest. And I'm so grateful to have had them along this journey for the last almost 3 years. But to all the other women in my life, right? Personally, professionally, you know who you are, you know who you matter, you know who matters most. I've talked to a bunch of you this week for a bunch of different reasons, and it's filled my soul, and it's what was on my mind. And so that's what I'm thinking about today in my stoppage time. So I'm sharing it with you. Godspeed, God bless in your journey. I hope you have an awesome stoppage time filled with some joy and some positive energy. And if you're in the US, that you enjoy your holiday weekend and get out there and do your thing and relax or disconnect or whatever you got to do to recharge for that push through the rest of the year. And maybe today I just leave you with an encouragement to open your eyes and open your heart to the talented, capable women that are around you. Be grateful for the ones that you're already connected to deeply, and open your eyes to the ones that you might be not noticing or might be flying under the radar, and give them a hand up, give them an opportunity, open a door, make a bet on them, and let's just see if we can't kind of change the world and leave it a little bit better than we found it, as my mom always charged me to do.